This is the Main Street Preps High School Football Wrap-Up Show, brought to you by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. Fans, don't let fans drive drunk.
Welcome in to week 3 of the Main Street Preps High School Football Wrap-Up Show, presented by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. I'm Chris Yao, your host. We've got a ton of information to give you throughout the rest of this show. Make sure to stay tuned as reporters from across the mid-state give you a little bit of an idea of what happened in each of their areas over the weekend in high school football. Also want to say thanks again to everyone who is tuning in to the Main Street Media Game of the Week. Don't forget that Thursday night will be at Giles County. Wade Neely will be on the call as they take on Lawrence County in the cowbell game. So a lot of things to get excited for this week, but let's go take one more look back at week 3, and we'll start down in Giles County with Wade Neely, who's got you covered in both Giles and Lawrence County.
Hey folks, Wade Neely here, sports editor for the Pulaski Citizen and contributor over at the Lawrence County Advocate. Time for a recap of week 4, and man, what a week it was. Hurricane Francine altered our schedules and altered them in a significant way, as all 5 of our area teams did eventually take the gridiron this week, but it took a while to get there. We had a game on Thursday, we had a game on Friday, and we had a game on Saturday, and 2 of our contests were big rivalry matchups, and so we'll break those down. First, we might as well go in chronological order, go all the way back to Thursday in a game that we broadcast simultaneously on Pulaski Citizen Live, as well as Main Street Preps Thursday night football coverage. It was Giles County with a 29-25 win over Lawrence County, as GCHS maintains possession of the cowbell, and the trophy will stay in Giles County for a 5th straight ball game. This was a wild one, though. Rainstorms driving down for pretty much the entire contest, and it was Lawrence County opening up a 15-point lead midway through the second quarter, and then it was all of a sudden a light turned on for Giles County offensively. They score 15 points. They tie the game at 22. You're thinking, okay, we're going to be knotted at halftime. Lawrence County, though, pushes right down the field, and they take a 25-22 lead at the break. Second half, however, not a lot of scoring, but it was a big play, and it was a game decider as Xavier Randolph finds Kareem Bryant in the end zone. Well, eventually in the end zone. It was a 79-yard pitch and catch on a screen pass between those two. Wild game, back and forth. Brandon Pettigrew had a fantastic night on the ground for Lawrence County. Ian Clayton had a great night on the ground for LCHS. Demetrius Silva and Gage Smith had big nights at the receiver positions for Lawrence County as they fall to their rival Giles County. Xavier Randolph was your big passer for Giles County. Not the best night he's had all season long, but it was enough to get the win, and GCHS does do that. Caleb Oates, 34 carries, 169 yards, I believe, somewhere in that neighborhood. Big night. Didn't even score, though, as Giles County got rushing touchdowns from Xavier Randolph, Pearson Collier, Dallas Buckner, and then they got the screen pass that I mentioned a moment ago. That brings us into Friday. What a night that Friday was, as Richland comes roaring back in the final moments. I'm having to pull up Mark Mize' recap from the Pulaski Citizen. I listened to the game on Pulaski Citizen Live, but Richland comes storming back and is able at the very end of this one to knock off Fairview 21-17. And really, it was a gut check win for Coach Nick Patterson and the Richland Raiders as they fall 17-14 late in that game. And you're thinking, man, this is not going to be Richland's night. But on the final possession, almost didn't even make it to the final possession. Nash Petty nearly housed one 95 yards for Richland on the kickoff, which would have put them right back in front. But in a weird way, that actually helped Richland as they were able to bleed the clock, milk things out a little bit more, and eventually they do take the lead on a big rush from Jake Sands at the Wildcats. So Richland, man, they are flying. They are throwing the ball all over the place. Blaine Woodard had another big night offensively, passing for Richland. And the Raiders are absolutely rolling as they get ready to travel to Cornersville. Richland was away on its first 3 games to start the season. They were back at home for the opener versus Fairview. First time they've beaten the Yellow Jackets since the year 2000, former region rival. So good win there for Richland and Coach Patterson's bunch. Looking now to Saturday night, what a wild game that this one was, as Summertown remains undefeated. It was the Eagles coming up with a 39-27 win. They're now 4-0. They're 2-0 in the region. This was a crazy game. Caden McCrory had an opening kickoff to the house that put Summertown up 7-0. Loretto at that point makes it 7-7 thanks to a Jackson Robertson touchdown. But then Peyton Niehaus is in for Summertown, makes it 14-7. Kind of trading scores back and forth, but eventually Summertown wears down Loretto. Quint Smith forces his way into the end zone and comes up with a big touchdown. And Summertown puts on the points. This was for a team that has prided itself on its defense, this was a game that they won thanks to the offense. And they did so in convincing fashion. Robertson with a late touchdown for the Mustangs, but the damage had been done. 39-27 is your final, as Summertown wins the mythological Lawrence County trophy after knocking off Lawrence County in week 1 and then following up with a win in the Pegasus Cup in week 4 versus Loretto. So crazy, crazy week. Again, Thursday night, Giles County knocking off Lawrence County. Friday night, Richland knocking off Fairview. And then Saturday, originally scheduled for Friday, but Mother Nature forced the game into Saturday action. Coming back on Saturday, Summertown defeating Loretto. So make sure you check these articles out. You can find Lawrence County's coverage at Lawrence County Advocate, as well as Summertown and Loretto. Obviously, you can find Giles County and Richland over with us at the Pulaski Citizen. Wade Neely saying so long for now. We will see you next time. If week 5 is anything like week 4, buckle up, folks. It'll be a doozy. See you guys.
Wade, thanks so much. We greatly appreciate it. Let's go a little bit north now, up to Maury County, where Maurice Patton has you covered, including the Main Street Media Game of the Week last week, Columbia Academy and Friendship Christian.
Hey, I'm Maurice Patton, sports editor of Main Street Maury. Week 4 of the high school football season is in the books down here, and the headliner was a Region 5 2A matchup between unbeaten Mount Pleasant and visiting Harpeth. The Indians got up early. Mount Pleasant had to battle back and had to have a 30-yard scoop and score in the second half from Evan Plunkett to put a 15-7 victory away to stay unbeaten at 4-0 overall, 2-0 in region play, while dropping Harpeth to 0-1 in the region with that loss. Again, scoop and score by Evan Plunkett put the Tigers up. Another fumble recovery by Braxton Brady inside the Mount Pleasant 10 put that game away for the Tigers. So once again, the defense kind of leading the charge for the Tigers through this 4-0 start. Again, they are 2-0 in Region 5 2A play, tied atop the region with Summertown, and we'll be talking more about that later this week. In Region 5 5A, Columbia Central got out to a double-digit lead twice on the road over at Shelbyville, but wound up giving up 3 touchdowns in the last 3 minutes and dropping a 34-24 decision over there to fall to 0-1 in region play. That was their region opener over at Shelbyville. Again, the Golden Eagles getting a 34-24 victory over the visiting Lions there. Also in Region 5 5A, Spring Hill goes to Lincoln County and had a tough night. Lincoln County rushing for more than 400 yards as the Falcons pick up a 49-14 victory over the Raiders, leaving Spring Hill winless on the year at 0-4, 0-1 in region play. Columbia Academy goes on the road to Huntington in a non-region matchup, and again, also giving up some big yardage on the ground as Gray Eubanks and Brady Warburton combined for 388 rushing yards and 5 touchdowns, offsetting a 3-touchdown catch effort from Harrison Brownlee in Huntington's 42-20 win over visiting Columbia Academy in that one. Region 6 6A action saw Franklin visit winless Independence, and Franklin hit on some big plays over the course of the night and dealt Independence a 35-14 loss there. Again, the Eagles remaining winless at 0-4 with that loss. Bright spot for the Eagles as Calvin Wall had a 98-yard kickoff return for a score, but it was too little too late for the Eagles. Again, falling to 0-4 in their region open and lost to Franklin 35-14. Non-region play saw Summit going over to Blackman, and the Spartans gave up 28 second quarter points. Touchdowns on offense, defense, and special teams helped Blackman get out to a big lead in an eventual 35-0 win in that game Friday night. That does it for high school football in the Main Street Murray area for week 4. I'm Maurice Patton. We'll see y'all soon.
Great stuff as always, Maurice. All right, we're going to go over now to Murfreesboro, where Monte Hale Jr. has you covered with a report from the Murfreesboro area.
Hello, I'm Monte Hale, sports editor of the Murfreesboro Post. We're going to wrap up week 4 of the Rutherford County high school football season. Already hard to believe that this time next week we'll be halfway home, at least through the regular season. So looking back, it was on page 48, Laverne nothing. Laverne's really had a tough time of it offensively. I think they've scored maybe 36 points all year. And they ran into a Page team that's trying to go to the Blue Cross Bowl for the 4th straight season. It was Coffee County 21, Siegel nothing. Disappointing beginning for Siegel. They've got some players banged up, and it was for the first time this season they were shut out, and they've only mustered up 13 points in their last 2 games. Bryson Green ran for 60 yards for Siegel. Oakland 41, Antioch 14. Everybody got into the fray. Chase Vandy had 107 yards and a touchdown. Had an interception. Kyler Creasy threw for 83 yards and a touchdown. T.T. Hill, Oakland senior tailback, had 12 carries, rushed for 138 yards and 2 scores. He also had a 65-yard punt return for a touchdown. Last week he had a long return for a touchdown. So Oakland getting it done in the special teams as well. Stewart's Creek 27, Rockville 7. This was all about a game dominated at the line of scrimmage, and it was obviously tilted heavily in favor of Stewart's Creek. Rockville couldn't run. They couldn't stop the run. Caleb Floyd for Stewart's Creek, 61 yards, 31 receiving, and a touchdown. Jeremy Smith rushed for a team-high 98 yards. Jerry Taylor threw for 250 and 2 scores. For Rockville, Javion Elliott, their young quarterback, threw for 137 yards. Again, that scored 27-7. Ravenwood 42, Smyrna 9. The Bulldogs dropped to 1-3 against the state-ranked Raptors. They've played a very good schedule, and they will play rival Laverne on the road Friday to open up things in this region play. Blackman 35, Summit nothing. You could almost sense this with the schedule that Blackman's played, how well they played Ravenwood the previous week. Marcus Cameron was 8 of 12 for 95 yards. They're kind of playing 2 quarterbacks, and he also had a touchdown in that game. Eagleville 12, Collinwood 7. Almost a must-win in many ways for Eagleville in that they'd already lost a home region game. Caleb Sneitzer had 164 yards and a touchdown. And Marshall Spann, who seems like he's always all over the field, 16 tackles, including 2 for losses. MTCS made it 2 in a row, the defending state champs. They go to Clarksville and beat Clarksville Academy 27-7. They improved to 2-2 overall. DCA, state power for years, they beat PCA 35-0. Aiden Bolden had 9 tackles and also added 2 receptions for 14 yards for the Lions. So tough loss for PCA, but probably the best team that they might play all season. All right, that's a wrap-up of Week 4 in Rutherford County football. We'll be back next week for Week 5 as we hit the halfway point. I'm Monte Hale, sports editor of the Murfreesboro Post.
Big week in Murfreesboro over there. All right, let's go to that northeast corner where Tommy Bryan has got you covered from the Wilson Post.
Hello, everybody. This is Tommy Bryan, sports editor of the Wilson Post in Lebanon, and here's a look at the high school football action from last week. Locally, we had a split schedule because of concerns about the weather, so I'll take a look at the Thursday night results first. Mount Juliet blanked Warren County 44-0 as Tyler Travers threw 3 first-half touchdown passes. The Bears improved to 4-0 with their third shutout of the season. Linebacker Noah Anderson had 6 tackles, 2 sacks, and a 38-yard interception return for a touchdown. Friendship Christian ran all over Franklin's Grace Christian by a score of 35-7 at Pirtle Field, improving to 2-2. Carlando Barton ran for 204 yards and scored 4 touchdowns, while Braden Stringer intercepted 2 passes with acrobatic catches. Undefeated DeKalb County topped Watertown 45-27 despite the efforts of Blake Waldorf. The sophomore quarterback threw for 2 touchdowns and ran for another as the Purple Tigers slipped to 0-4 on the season. Friday night we had 3 games in Wilson County. Green Hill defeated Wilson Central by a score of 36-0. The undefeated Hawks were led by senior Nick Owens Jr., who caught 7 passes for 123 yards and a touchdown. He ran for 43 yards, and he completed a halfback option for 33 yards. Sophomore Zach Cartwright ran for 123 yards and 3 touchdowns. Undefeated Cookeville shut out Lebanon 27-0 at Clifton Tribble Field, Danny Watkins Stadium, as the Cavaliers ran for 358 yards. The Blue Devils fell to 1-3 so far this season. And finally, Mount Juliet Christian Academy improved to 3-1 after Friday's 34-0 victory over Red Boiling Springs at Ed Suey Field. That's a look at the high school football action from last week in Wilson County. For Main Street Preps, I'm Tommy Bryan. I'll talk to you later.
Thanks, Tommy. Always great to hear from you. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we've got more reports from across the Mid-Tennessee area in high school football from Week 3 here on the Main Street Preps wrap-up show presented by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office.
He shoots, and he scores!
At Delta Dental of Tennessee, we know our success begins and ends with providing superior quality service, and that includes serving those who need it most. This year, we're celebrating 25 years of giving back to the community we call home. Delta Dental, along with our Smile 180 Foundation, supports Tennessee's dental colleges and oral health education, children's hospitals, free and reduced cost dental clinics, and other like-minded charities. Here's to the next 25 plus years of ensuring healthy smiles.
We're back here on the Main Street Preps high school football wrap-up show in Week 3. I'm Chris Yao. Again, glad to have you guys with us. Don't forget that the Tennessee Highway Safety Office reminds you that fans don't let fans drive drunk. Let's go now to Sumner County, where Blaine Kellar is standing by with a report.
Junior quarterback Jackson Stroud became Gallatin's all-time leading passer on Thursday night, but he did so in a 10-7 loss against Dixon County. Cover that and more in your Sumner County football snapshot here with you. I'm Sumner County sports editor Blaine Kellar. Stroud needed just 10 yards to overtake Clay Carnes' record of 2,912 all-time passing yards at Gallatin. He set the new career mark with a 23-yard attempt to Jeremiah Williams in the first quarter, that being his 5th attempt of the night, his first completion to set the new mark. Gallatin scored on that drive but couldn't get anything else going. The defense allowed Dickson County's run game to control the clock the rest of the night. Again, a 10-7 win for the Cougars that dropped Gallatin to 1-3 in the early portion of its season. Beach kickstarted Region 7 5A play with a 35-13 win. Shelton Swafford had an interception and scored a rushing touchdown. Caden Powell faked a punt. He also scored a touchdown on the ground. A couple of big plays for the Buccaneers as they moved to 3-1 ahead of their game against Independence. Hendersonville and Hunters Lane played to a 2-point game at halftime, that being a 14-12 Commandos lead, before they broke through for a 47-24 win in region play. Bo Bailey came back after a 2-game absence for JP2. He accounted for over 200 yards and 4 touchdowns as the Knights fended off the Webb School, that being a 33-27 final. Liberty Creek had over 330 yards on the ground against Stratford. White House moved to 3-1 against Whites Creek, now 2-0 in region play after some big performances from Michael Albin and Easton Biggs. And Westmoreland, the only other game played Thursday, a 51-0 final against Jackson County. That's your Sumner County football snapshot. Back to you guys.
Blaine, glad you were able to stay somewhat dry on Friday night as Beach and Riverdale had a heck of a battle. Appreciate that report. Let's go over to Robertson County now, where David Wilson has you covered. David?
Everybody, this is David Wilson, sports reporter for the Robertson County Connection, here to give you a quick recap of all the Week 4 games across the Robertson County area. Region play continued across the mid-state, and especially for the Robertson County teams this week. White House Heritage kicked off region play in 6-3A with a huge win over Cheatham County by the final score of 42-6. The Patriots jumped out to a 42-0 lead at the halftime, and that was boosted by the play of quarterback Xavier Murray and wide receiver Eric Lopez. Murray, in just a first half of action, was 15 of 18 passing for 201 yards and 5 touchdown passes. 4 of those went to Eric Lopez, who had 5 catches for 113 yards and, as I mentioned, 4 touchdown receptions. Patriots defense also played well this week. Dason Springer had 2 interceptions in the first half, including a 45-yard interception return for a touchdown. They will host Forest this week, as they are 2-2 on the year and 1-0 this week in region play. Moving on, White House beat undefeated Whites Creek this past week by a final score of 49-20. 5 different Blue Devils found their way to the end zone. Quarterback Easton Biggs had 3 total touchdowns on Friday night in Nashville. He had 2 touchdown passes of at least 25 yards to wide receiver Kenny Holt. The Blue Devils are on a 3-game winning streak and undefeated in Region 5-4A at 2-0. Moving on, Springfield dominated Station Camp on Friday night by a final score of 40-14. The Yellow Jackets rushed for 256 yards rushing and 5 rushing touchdowns. Keenan Chapman Jr. had 9 carries for 62 yards and 2 scores. Running back Jaden Hurst had 7 carries for 132 yards and 2 touchdowns. The Yellow Jackets defense, led by defensive coordinator Drew Wilson, had 3 interceptions of Station Camp quarterback Colton Overbay. And also, Kason Woodson, the Springfield quarterback, with 7 of 9 passing, had a touchdown pass to Jabraylon Ellis in that one, as Springfield moves to 2-2 on the year. East Robertson remained undefeated on Friday night as they defeated Sycamore 40-7 during the homecoming festivities in Cross Plains. Casey Young, the sophomore quarterback for East Robertson, once again was stellar on Friday night. 16 of 21 passing for 301 yards and 4 total touchdowns. He had 3 touchdown passes in that one and 1 rushing touchdown. Zach Groves, the junior 4-star defensive end and tight end, had 3 receptions for 114 yards and 2 touchdown receptions. Also had 9 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, and 1 forced fumble as the Indians remained undefeated. They are the number 1 team in the Tennessee Sports Writers Association Class 2A poll. Greenbrier fell to 0-4 for the first time since 2019 after their loss to Macon County on Friday night. The Tigers defeated the Bobcats 59-6. Greenbrier's lone touchdown came in the 4th quarter on a rushing touchdown by DeAndre Thomas. Moving on, Gordonsville, the number 2 team in the Tennessee Sports Writers Association Class 1A poll, they opened up region play with a 48-14 win over Joe Burns on Friday night. The Red Devils fall to 1-3 on the year. They will host rival East Robertson this week, and the match in the patch in Cedar Hill. And then finally, Memphis Academy of Science and Engineering made the trip up from Shelby County, and they handed Innovation Academy their 4th loss of the year. They are now 0-4. Final score on that one is 56-0. Innovation Academy will head into Week 5 as they host Bradley Central, still looking for their first win of the year and their first win in program history. That'll do it on this week's wrap-up. Looking forward to talking to you guys next week.
All right, David, thanks so much. Calvin White has you covered up in Montgomery County. Calvin, tell us what happened on Friday.
Hello everyone, this is Calvin White, sports editor with Main Street Clarksville, here to give you a quick recap of last week's high school football games in Montgomery County. Clarksville wins 35-14 over Hopkinsville. The Wildcats continue their regular season dominance, winning their 19th consecutive regular season game dating back to 2022. Rossview starts 4-0 for the first time in school history with a 44-6 win over Northwest. Cole Phillips and Reed Bryant combined for 5 touchdowns, and Rossview's defense played lights out. Kirkwood wins 34-0 over Northeast. Kirkwood, Clarksville, and Rossview have all solidified themselves as the top dogs in Montgomery County. Miles Redding with another good game. Josiah Claybrooks, Montgomery County's leading rusher, with another great game. Creekwood wins 27-7 over Montgomery Central. Montgomery Central is one of a few teams in Montgomery County still looking for their first win, along with Northwest and Northeast. And the Indians have Jackson Mullins, who's been great on the ground all year for them. Their defense is coming along, but the Indians still looking for their first win. Middle Tennessee Christian wins 27-7 over Clarksville Academy. And West Creek wins 13-6 over Kenwood. Kenwood, as well as Northeast, Northwest, and Montgomery Central still looking for their first win. I'm Calvin White, sports editor with Main Street Clarksville. I'll talk to you again soon.
Calvin, we greatly appreciate it. All right, we've got just a little bit more on the other side of our final break of the show. Thank you guys for hanging out with us here on the Main Street Preps High School Football Wrap-Up Show. We'll be right back after this. Stick around.
At Delta Dental of Tennessee, we know our success begins and ends with providing superior quality service, and that includes serving those who need it most. This year, we're celebrating 25 years of giving back to the community we call home. Delta Dental, along with our Smile 180 Foundation, supports Tennessee's dental colleges and oral health education, children's hospitals, free and reduced cost dental clinics, and other like-minded charities. Here's to the next 25 plus years of ensuring healthy smiles.
He shoots, and he scores!
And we're back here on the Week 3 High School Football Wrap-Up Show presented by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. Remember, fans, don't let fans drive drunk. Let's go now to Casey Patrick, who has your Dixon and Cheatham County wrap-ups.
Hi, how are y'all? My name is Casey Patrick. I'm the sports reporter for the Dixon Post and the Cheatham County Exchange. We're going to give you a quick rundown of Week 4 football action. We're going to start with the game I was at. I was at the Creekwood Montgomery Central game. That game was in Charlotte last Friday. Redhawks really just dominated the whole game. Montgomery Central did get on the board with a score late in the fourth quarter, but Creekwood won that one 27-7. The Redhawks improved to 3-1. They're 1-1 in the region. Of course, that one loss was last week to a really strong Pearl Cone team. I get the feeling, though, Creekwood would love a rematch with those guys. Moving on to Dixon County, they had a Thursday night game. They traveled to Gallatin. Of course, Blaine Kellar was there from Main Street. He covered the game for me, for us at Main Street, and Dixon County actually pulled it off. Went into Gallatin and beat them 10-7. Gallatin's they're pretty similar to the team they had last year, and of course last year Gallatin came out on top 48-16, I think, in that game. So A signature win for Coach Tomlinson there at Dixon County. Big win for him. Moving over into Cheatham, all three Cheatham teams lost this past week. We'll start with Harpeth. They fell 15-7 at Mount Pleasant. And then Cheatham County Central lost 42-6 against White House Heritage. And Sycamore dropped a rough one, 40-7 at East Robertson. East Robertson, of course, one of the better teams in 2A. So, looking forward to week 5. Y'all have a good evening.
Casey, as always, greatly appreciated. Looking forward to seeing you guys on Thursday for the high school football preview show. And again, Thursday night down in Giles County, it's the Bobcats and Lawrence County in the Cowbell game. Wade Neely will have you on the call. So make sure to tune in to Main Street Media Game of the Week on social media and, of course, our Main Street Media TV platforms on Roku, Android, and Apple products, and, of course, your Amazon Fire Stick as well. Make sure to download that today and keep up with the latest in news, weather, and sports right here in Middle Tennessee. Once again, for all the folks at Main Street Media Television, I'm Chris Yao saying have a great day. We'll see you next time.
This is the Main Street Preps High School Football Wrap-Up Show, brought to you by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. Fans, don't let fans drive drunk.